On today's Pedone My Take, I'll be joined by former Browns offensive line coach and Hard Knocks legend, Bob Wylie. We're going to get into all the controversial things that he might have said last season about Freddie Kitchens, about the Browns. We're going to go over all of that, plus more with Bob Wylie. We're going to recap the Browns' win over the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football and get you ready for Sunday's matchup versus the Washington Football Team. We'll talk about the Cleveland Indians clinching that playoff spot with the awesome Jose Ramirez walk-off home run, how much fun all that was, and give you all my takes on all the trends around the world of sports. So let's get into it, because Pedone My Take is presented by MyBookie. Winning season returns at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means Survivor, Super Contest, and Squares. At MyBookie, winning season means hitting all of your parlays and all of your props with your feet up, watching your team trounce their rivals. Invest in your intuition. Use promo code Pedone and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play, designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games that you want to bet on. From live betting to championship futures, every play that you're waiting to play is waiting for you over at MyBookie. It's this simple. You're going to register using promo code Pedone. You're going to make your picks. You're going to win big, and you're going to collect your cash. Use promo code Pedone. That's my last name, Pedone, and you're going to double your first deposit today. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie. Go check them out, mybookie.ag. Again, that's promo code Pedone. They're going to double that first deposit, hook it up for you guys so you can bet on the Browns with me moving forward, because how quickly things change in the world of Cleveland sports. Welcome to Cleveland, Ohio, baby. This is what we do here. Last week, the Browns smoked by the Baltimore Ravens. We were talking about, is Baker Mayfield the guy? We were talking about, do you trade Odell Beckham Jr.? It was hell in a handbag. It was panic mode if the Browns lose to the Bengals. The Indians were on an 8-game losing streak. It was looking easy to get rid of Frankie Lindor. We were questioning the pitching that we kept. How things have changed. This week, the Cavs back at practice. Sexton and Garland both look bigger. They both look more athletic. They're ready to go. Indians clinch playoffs on a 3-run shot by Jose Ramirez, who's making a late run for the MVP candidacy. The Browns beat the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Baker looked improved. Odell played well. And on Sunday, the Cleveland Browns have a chance to go over 500 for the first time since 2014 versus Dwayne Haskins and the Washington Football Team. I think they're going to be able to do it. I'm excited to see it. What else could you say? What else could you say than how quickly things change? I thought the Browns defense surprised me on Sunday, and I wanted to open up the show talking about them. The front four came up big. The secondary and linebacking cores, we knew were going to need help. We knew that was going to be the Achilles heel of this team this year, especially with the Grant Delpit injury, the Kevin Johnson lacerated liver, the Greedy Williams shoulder, the Mack Wilson hyperextended knee. We knew this was going to be hard. It wasn't going to be easy throughout these first couple games. But with these guys coming back against the Washington Football Team, I'm excited about that, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. First, we're going to get into Bob Wylie here in a second. But the front four was bend, don't break for me. And that's what I wanted to see them do against Joe Burrow and that horrible Bengals offensive line. The broadcast on Thursday Night Football, NBC, they wanted to make their production and they wanted to make it seem like, oh, this is Joe Burrow's game. It's his coming out party against Cleveland, Battle of Ohio. But really, it's Joe Burrow's first game. And you have to understand that they were going to do that. It's his first time on national TV since, his days at LSU and the national championship run. The world wanted to see Joe Burrow. We talked about that last week. The world wanted to see Baker Mayfield and the Browns fail on Thursday Night Football, and they didn't do that. And then the next day on social media, people were saying, well, Joe Burrow played a good game. Like Joe Burrow is the real deal. Did he really? He threw the ball 61 times, and that's because for the most part, it got close there at the end, but for the most part, the Browns were beating them pretty handedly. But did he really look that good? To me, he looked like he held on to it for a long time. He was hesitant to throw deep balls down the field. Him and A.J. Green had no connection at all. A.J. Green fantasy owners, I don't know what you fellas are going to do, because Joe Burrow and A.J. Green looked on two different, completely different pages. I thought the Browns handled Joe Burrow exceptionally well. And we were talking about going into this game, is Baker the worst quarterback in the AFC North? And I hated having that conversation because no. Baker shares a division with Lamar Jackson, who won the division last year, who won the MVP. He shares it with Big Ben, who Father Time, I hate to tell you, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, is getting a hold of. He's coming off of a Tommy John surgery. He's not the Big Ben of old. He's still really good, but he's not the Big Ben of old. And then Joe Burrow, who's a rookie. So the whole Baker conversation was silly. And I think Thursday Night Football, at least it should have proved that Baker is not the fourth best quarterback in this division. You know, AFC North is a good division. It's one of the best in football. I tweeted that on Sunday when I was watching that Steelers-Broncos game. But then we were watching that game, and Big Ben almost lost to Jeff Driscoll and the Denver Broncos. That's not an impressive team. Come on. Von Miller's out for the season. Phillip Lindsay, who carries a lot of their workload, is dealing with a turf toe, and he missed that game. Cortland Sutton left with cramps, and it turned out to be a torn ACL. Like, the Denver Broncos aren't that good. The Pittsburgh Steelers, all I hear about is their front four, and trust me, they look good. And trust me, when we play the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 3 or 4 weeks here, I'm going to be nervous about TJ Watt, about Bud Dupree, those guys that they have up front. But when I was watching that game, I was like, really, this team looks beatable. And I want to get into it in a second. And before we bring in Bob Wylie, I want you to tweet the show at Nick Pedone 12, at Pedone My Take, which you could always do. Are the Browns contenders this season? You know, they play in such a difficult division, but you're getting that extra wild card team. My question is that simple. Are the Browns contenders this year? At Nick Pedone 12, at Pedone My Take. Things are looking up in Cleveland. I'm going to preview Browns versus Washington football team in a second, but first, we got to do this big. We got to do this right, because coming on the show right now is a Hard Knocks legend, former Cleveland Browns assistant, Bob Wylie. He's going to talk about his time on HBO. He's going to talk about his time with the Browns, his Maseratis, all that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Bob Wylie. Okay, so joining me now is longtime NFL offensive line coach, Bob Wylie. Bob, long time no talk. We haven't heard from you up here in Cleveland in quite some time. I want to know, and the fans are asking, how are those Maseratis doing, my friend?
They're polished and ready to go.
Cool. Go ahead and tell everybody, how does a person end up buying 2 Maseratis?
Actually, there's 3.
Oh, there's 3. How's a person end up buying 3 Maseratis?
God, I was in a service department getting a car serviced, okay? And they gave you a car to use, okay? So, and I brought the car back, okay, and to pick up my car. And in the showroom, there was a Maserati. The biggest mistake I made was sitting in it. Yeah, 2 hours later, I had the Maserati, right? Well, then, that was a Quadruporte GT Sport, okay? It was the 4-door model. I wanted a Gran Turismo, okay, which is the 2-door sporty model that you guys saw, the white one, okay? So I coached the guy's kid that owns the Dallas, an exotic car dealership down in Dallas. And so I called him up and I asked him, I said, hey, I'm looking for this. What do you got? He said, hey, I got a good one for you. It's coming off a lease. It's only got like 10 or 12,000 miles on it. He said, I can give you a good deal on the car. So I said, okay. So I bought the car, sight unseen, okay, and they shipped it to Cleveland. So now I got 2, okay. Well, now I got a buddy that's a service manager, okay, in a Maserati store. And he calls me up and he says, hey, you still looking for the Gran Turismo? I said, I just got one. He says, we just had one in the shop. It's only got 5,000 miles on it. I said, what? He said, it's only got 5,000 miles on it. The guy wants to get rid of the car. He said, you got to go look at it. It's a beautiful car. I said, all right. So he gives me the guy's name and number. I call my guy up. We make an appointment. I go over to the guy's house. We open the guy's garage door. He's got an F12 Ferrari. He's got a Bentley. He's got a Harley Davidson motorcycle. I mean, he's got all the toys. And the Maserati's sitting over in a corner. It's got a cover on it. Right? So he says, you want to drive it? I said, I don't need to drive it. He said, I'll take a look at it. So he take the cover off, and the service guy was right. It's a beautiful car. It's a blue, like a navy blue. And it's got the cream interior with the blue stitching, and the tridents on it are blue inside. I mean, it's gorgeous. So I'm looking. I said, oh my God, what am I going to do with this thing? So the guy goes, I said, what do you want for the car? He says, no, make me an offer. So I made him an off-the-wall offer. That was the price of the guy that sold me the car in Dallas, right? And the guy looks at me. He goes, I'm not driving it. Go ahead, take it. You got it.
Wow.
So now I got 3.
Yeah, I guess so. That's how a person ends up with 3 Maseratis. Obviously, the first time we saw that car was on Hard Knocks on HBO. Talk to me a little bit. What was that experience like for you? Was it cool? Was it fun? Were the cameras a little bit invasive? And do you really hate stretching?
Well, you know, it was fun. It was fun doing it. Okay, I did not put on any show for the cameras. What you saw is me. Okay, that's just the way I am. If you would have did it 20 years ago, you would have saw the same guy 30 years ago. It's just it's just the way I am, my personality. Okay, the cameras in the building, what they did is they come in during the off season and they rewire the building, and they put the cameras up, and you can't know. Sometimes you don't even know they're there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They're covered up. They're hidden there. You know, like in my room, there was a camera up. There was they come in like a covered globe, I should say, on the wall. And then the ceiling grids for the drop-down ceilings, right? They take a couple of them out and they put these grids in that have the microphones. Okay, so you really sit in a room and not even know, you got cameras on. You forget sometimes, right? And so that in the building itself was okay. It was not bad. Sometimes in the field, they follow you around because every day they come in, they give us a list of the guys they want mic'd, okay? And then when it was my turn, I said, "No, I really have to do this." The guy said, "Yeah, you got to do this." I said, "Okay." Well, then after that episode, they mic'd me like almost every day after that. I mean, it was right. So, and we used to have a signal when we were mic'd, okay? Right, we'd have a signal to tell anybody coming up to us, right? Because we don't want them to say anything that they're not supposed to say that may get out in the general public about players or about staff, about any of that stuff. So we always give a little signal, like, I'd always point to my logo. Okay, hey, that means I'm mic'd. Okay, so watch what you say, because you don't know what's going to get out there. All right, so that's about the only thing that we did. They stayed far enough away from us with the cameras on the field and the booms, but you still had you still had to watch what you said about personnel on the field. You don't want to embarrass any of you, but you don't want to degrade anybody. You never want to do that as a coach anyway. All right. So, other than that, it was fun. I understood, and I don't know it to be a fact that somebody told me that episode, okay, somewhere somebody sent me a thing that it was the best one they had in 14 years or something like that. And it went to like 200 million homes or 185 million houses. Got to see that, so that part was kind of fun. It really was. Okay, so.
Yeah, Cleveland did have like the highest, ranking grossing Hard Knocks as a whole, so that season was a lot of fun. Do you hate stretching though? What was up with that? The people are dying to know.
Well, I tell you what, when we were with Oakland, when I was with Hugh Jackson in Oakland, we didn't stretch. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to stretch, you went down and you saw the trainers and you saw the stretch guys, and you got stretched before you came to practice, because we were not stretching in practice. Okay, so we'd go out there, all right, and then we get together and coach would talk to us for a few minutes, and then we'd break. Okay, and the first thing we would do is we would go right to team takeoff. Okay, and then we go right to individual. And from individual, we go right to the inside one period. Okay, and we didn't stretch before or after practice. They wanted to stretch after practice. Then they had go see the trainers and go see the strength guys and get yourself stretched. We had the least amount of soft tissue injury, okay, in the National Football League. So, I used to work for Coach Bruce, God rest his soul, right? And he used to tell us the stories all the time about, you think that tiger's stretching? When that tiger sees that antelope, you think he worries about stretching? If he did, he wouldn't eat. He just goes, so.
But
Now,
yeah,
do I really hate it? I don't really hate it, but I think there's a big emphasis on it because growing up as a kid, you didn't go out when you played and stretched. You just went out and you put to play. You're climbing trees. You're playing baseball. You're playing basketball. You're riding your bike. Nobody's stretching. Then all of a sudden you get into organized sports, right? And the first time you get to organized sports, somebody says, well, you got to stretch now. Really? I just spent the last 10, 12, 14 years. I didn't stretch. Now I need to stretch.
That's awesome.
All right. I get a thing from a guy from Oxford. I get this thing from a guy from Oxford, England. I'm pretty sure they're pretty intelligent out there, right? And he's telling me, Coach, you're really on the right line. You're on the right road.
People forget that you were with Coach Hugh in Oakland, and they forget that, you were here during 0-16. You battled those lows with the rest of us as fans. When Baker finally gets put into that Thursday night game against the Jets and the Browns finally win the first game of that whole streak, how cool was it to be a part of that and to be in the stadium that night?
I thought it was when Tyrod went down, okay, and they put Baker in. Okay, and a lot of people don't know the story. There's a lot of stories that go with it. Okay, and Baker goes in the game. Okay, well, the defense and some defensive players at the Jets are saying, Mayfield, we're coming after your ass. Mayfield, we're gonna come and get you, right? Rookie, we're gonna. And Mayfield turns around at them, and I don't know if I'm supposed to swear in this podcast or not. And Baker looks at him and he goes, I don't even know who the fuck you are. Joe Petonio and J.C. Snyder and those and Kevin, right? So they were laughing. So they come off the field. Right after the series was over, they come off the field and they're sitting on the bench and they're laughing. And I said, what are you laughing for? They said, they told me the story, what Baker just did. And then they said, yeah, he's our guy. You know what I mean? And Baker played really well for us. Okay, I think he played well. And Kenny Zampese kind of had him corralled. You know what I mean? And he liked Kenny. Kenny's a hell of a quarterback coach, a hell of a football coach. You know what I mean? And Kenny did a real good job with him, right? And we didn't ask him to do a lot of crazy things. Okay, we kept it really simple and easy for him, and he executed. And we ran the ball well. Okay, and Greg Williams did a really good job of keeping us focused and making it a lighter atmosphere. So after the head coach was let go and the coordinator was let go, the atmosphere in the meeting, in the building itself, was a little lighter. It was a little more relaxed, and the kids felt a little more comfortable. And I remember Greg Williams, and he would tell us, stay away from the kids on game day. He said, don't coach them up on game day. Stay away from them, right? Just let them go out there and play. Don't give them too much, you know what I mean? And as older coaches like ourselves, you got a wealth of information that you want to give them, okay? Mm-hmm. And if you give them too much, okay, you got to slow them down. There's too much thinking, okay? You got to give them what they need to know. You got to fill up the need to make corrections, because when they're on the field and you're on the sideline, you're a fan. You're watching the game like everybody else. You just got a different, you're just watching different parts of the game, okay? The fans are following the ball. I'm trying to find what's happening with the blocking scheme closest to me. You know what I mean? So, and then the guy upstairs is looking at the blocking scheme closer to him. He was looking at the other side. He's got a better view. But so the players have to get in the huddle and make corrections. Okay, so you got to give them enough information, enough tools in their box that they can pull out, because there may be a 10-play drive, and you can't talk to the kid. And if you only give the kid one thing to do, then you just put that kid in a bad situation. Okay, because it may not be working, and that's all he's got to do, and it may not be working. So I don't do that with my players.
Do you think that
I
could
give
have
them different things that hey, if this doesn't work, you better try this, because we don't need to get our ass kicked here. And I think Baker, in my last year there, the line finished second in the NFL, number 2. First year we didn't win a game, we were in 10th. Okay, the second year we had 5 games with 1 sack and 5 games with no sacks. You know what I mean? The kids played really well. People don't realize all that stuff, but they don't see what's happening up in the front, the actual techniques and details that we put into what goes on up there. Okay, so, Baker, I believe, and I don't know all the stats with it, I try not to, I think he was the least hit quarterback, okay, at the time, from when he was in until he finished. You know what I mean? So that, it says something for Baker getting rid of the ball. It says something for the line keeping him off, the running backs picking up blitzes, the receivers running the right routes at the right depths, running backs getting out in their flare controls when they're supposed to be. All that stuff plays into it. I think we were more of a run action team. People call it play action. We're more of a run action. We were trying to sell more of the run look, okay? Play action to me is, the line's going to take the 4 down on the mic and the backs are fake and toke by the quarterback. That's kind of the play action. I kind of put it in, you've got a run action protection, a play action protection. You've got out of pocket protections where the quarterback's going to get out of the pocket. And then you've got your drop back protections and your screens. You know what I mean? Those 5 or 6 concepts, it's all we got. And it's how much you put into those 5 or 6 guys. We try not to give them a lot.
Last year it did seem like Baker was a little overloaded at times, and you didn't buy into the Freddie Kitchens hype. You were the one kind of talking people off that ledge, like, hey, calm down. It was Ken Zampese pulling some of those strings. What did you make of that mess last season in Cleveland?
I got my butt in trouble for saying all that, in that show. And I just told the truth. I told exactly the truth, what happened, and I got hammered with it. But, you know what I mean? Sometimes you tell the truth and they don't want to hear it. But that's exactly what happened. And it was Kenny. It was Al Saunders. It was, Greg Seaman, Mark Hudson, myself. We kind of took everything. There's a lot of, I think, between me, Kenny, and Al, we had like 75 years of coaching experience in the National Football League. I said, so we were pretty comfortable with it. You know what I mean? We could make it work. And with Greg Williams' leadership, okay, that made it better. Okay, and so, we just put the stuff on the game plan, and then just all Freddie Kitchens had to do was just call numbers. We get in certain situations, Baker's got a wristband. Okay, you get in 3rd and 4, hey, you got these 3 plays. You get in 3rd and 8 to 10, you got these 4 plays or 3 plays. You got 2nd and 1, you got these 3 plays. Okay, we kind of made it really simple. You know what I mean? And let the kids play. Just let the kids play. You know what I mean? So, that all that stuff that got my butt in trouble, that was just telling the truth. They said, well, Bob doesn't have a contract. Well, I got fired on January 12th in a hospital bed. My contract ran out on January 15th. So when they fired me, I was still under contract for 3 days. Right? So they all that stuff is ancient history. That all happens in the league. It's just the way it happens. You don't like. What really bothered us the most as coaches, okay, is we worked our butt off, okay, up until that point where I got hurt, okay, and then they have a meeting, and then it was voiced over that we did a really good job, and I got the interview, and you guys did a hell of a job and helped me get the interview, so on and so forth. And then 3 days later, everybody gets fired. So you don't really know where that came from. You don't know if that was the head coach. You don't know if it was the general manager. You don't know if it came from the owner. You don't know. You never know as a coach. Okay, so hey, this is what we did. This is how it happened. This is the truth. That's the way we went. And I think some of the media and the fans kind of hammered me. So,
Hey, well, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on here, and I know the fans do too. Somebody I definitely wanted to ask you about, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring his name up, is Joe Thomas, obviously an icon here in Cleveland. As somebody that's committed, their whole career to coaching offensive lines and working with offensive tackles, how nearly impossible is it for a single player to record almost 10,000 consecutive snaps throughout his career?
That'll never happen again. 10,353 consecutive snaps. It's not going. He had to have some luck with that because there's probably some games, okay, where they were getting beat really bad, and they wanted to try some of the younger players, but for whatever reason they didn't do it. They didn't put the other guys in. You know what I mean? Joe may have thrown him off the field. Say, I'm not leaving off the field. So that could have happened too. I don't know that did. And I don't see that anybody is actually going to break that record. I can't see that happening. That's really, really a unique record to hold. I look at the league now, and you look at all the injuries they're having, right? And I believe that all the injuries that they're having right now is because the way they practice in training camp. There's not enough contact in training camp, okay, to get you through a 16-game season. I had in my career, I coached with John Harbaugh, so John and myself are pretty good friends, and I talked to him about that, and he said, "You hit it right on the head." He said, we at Baltimore, we hit when we had the time to hit. When they said, "Okay, this practice is a physical practice. Hey, you guys can hit today. You can have contact today." Well, we did as much of it as we could. It was going to be physical and it was going to be violent, and we did that, okay? Because of the nature of, all the hype about the virus and all the other stuff, it might have scared off some other staff from doing some of that stuff.
You're up there in the CFL now, and how's that league kind of combating everything with the coronavirus? You watch an NFL game, there's either, a couple hundred fans or there's no fans. Is that kind of weird? What are your thoughts on how all that's looking?
Well, you got to understand, in the CFL, they cancel the league. They cancel the season. We don't have the season. Okay? They were looking into having a bubble in Winnipeg where all the teams would go to Winnipeg, but the logistics was just not working out, I don't think, the way they wanted it to. And then the CFL, it's based on money that is generated through the fans and through sponsors. And so that's how the league survives. It's not like the NFL where the TV, they got multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar contracts, and everything's paid for before they go on a field and stop practice. Okay, so they spent, somebody told me $74 million on the protocol to get it right, or try to get it right, for the players and the staffs to be safe during games and during practices and coming in and out of the building. And so they really put a lot of time and effort into doing that, okay? In the CFL, they don't have the money to do that. So it may be a blessing that happened that way, but you really wish that you were playing, okay? You still get excited to play the games. You still get excited to be on the field. You still get excited in practice and stuff. So, I'm sitting here at my mom's house in Rhode Island, and you know what I mean? And I should be on the field someplace.
Right.
I should be somewhere staying on a football field telling, coaching the guys what to do.
You're still beloved here in Cleveland, Bob. I really appreciate you taking the time, to hang out with us. What's one parting thing that you would want to say to Cleveland fans, to Browns fans, as you sign off the show here?
Oh, God, always be. I think everybody has to be a fan of something, but I think the Cleveland fans were the best fans that I've been around, and I've been around a few teams. I've been to Oakland, Denver, the Jets, Tampa Bay, the Bengals, the Bears. You know what I mean? Everybody has fans, but the Cleveland fans are, you know what I mean? They're win or lose, they're going to support you, which is good. Okay, that's a good thing for them. And you got a lot of good young players there. Okay, right, and all they need to do is play. The more you can keep them together in a group, okay, the more you hang in there with them, okay, the more you let them play, the better they're going to get. I mean, those two young running backs, when I first saw Chubb play, I said, this kid's a legitimate kid. You know what I mean? This is, we should give this kid the ball 28 to 35 times a game. Now he's got his buddy Hunt with him, so they can rest one and play the other one, and there's not much of a drop-off. You know what I mean? So just hang in there with them. You know what I mean? And, you're going to, some of the media are going to get on them, and, what you tell the players, you have four types of communication on the planet, okay? So the communication, take the information that you need and store it and get rid of the rest of the information. You know what I mean? And you got to kind of teach your players how to do that. What's relevant to what we're doing and what's not, okay? Don't listen to the stuff that's not going to make any difference to you. Let it go. It doesn't matter, okay?
For sure. Bob, I appreciate it so much, man. This was a blast. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. And the Cleveland fans, you guys are the best. You guys are the best. I was happy. I was glad that I was a part of it, and I'm glad I contributed. I wish I could contribute more. Okay, but it didn't work out that way. So it's the nature of the National Football League. An old coach told me one time, years and years and years ago, and you want to stay in a spot as long as you can, but eventually there's a point in time where you leave to go to another team. You were 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, 2 years, right? And usually it's the head coaches. And I said, well, when is it time when you go to another team? When does that happen? He says, when you no longer have anything to say, right, to the Lions or the Rotary Club. It's time to go someplace else. That always stuck in my head. I said, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so joining me now is longtime NFL off. Great stuff there from former Browns offensive line coach Bob Wylie. Appreciate him coming on the show, man. Got into the feud with Freddie Kitchens and explained how all that trouble came about. He got into so much other stuff about Baker's first game. Told some really sweet stories about how he purchased 3 Maseratis. So fun. If you're just tuning in or you tuned in late, make sure to look up Pedone My Take on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. That whole interview is going to be on demand. And of course, Coach Wylie appeared on the show courtesy of my friends at dugoutmugs.com. The Tribe are officially in the playoffs for the 4th time in 5 years, and it's time for us to celebrate with our own bat mugs from Dugout Mugs. I got my bat mug with me on set, and you could get yours too at dugoutmugs.com. Check these guys out here. They're real-life baseball bats, hollowed out with the Cleveland Indians logo etched onto it. It's a must-have for all Cleveland baseball fans. And to get you started, the crew at Dugout Mugs are going to give away free knob shot glasses to my listeners. They take the handle, the knob of an actual baseball bat, and they hollow that out and turn it into a shot glass, put that Block C logo on it. To get started, visit dugoutmugs.com/Pedone. That's my last name, Pedone. dugoutmugs.com/Pedone. Get your bat mug here. Get your free knob shot. Super quality stuff. Make sure you go order yours today. You just got to pay shipping and handling on that little knob shot. dugoutmugs.com/Pedone. That's dugoutmugs.com/Pedone. You're going to get yourself a free knob shot and a free bat. So on Sunday, the Browns are going to host the Washington football team. And I'm so happy that this is right where we're playing the Washington football team. The Tribe are getting ready to be in the playoffs. It seems like things are coming together here in Cleveland, and that's how I opened up the show, saying how quickly things turn. We went from the blowout against the Ravens, and now we're back with an 8-game Tribe losing streak, and here we are ready to roll. Washington football team. This is a chance to pick up momentum. When good teams beat a bad team, that could be a turning point of their season because they're able to beat up on those bad teams. Last year with Freddie Kitchens, the Browns weren't able to do that. They were too much of a roller coaster. They were too herky-jerky. They were too up and down. You need to keep this momentum building. You beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, good for you. You did what you were supposed to do there. Now it's time to put pen to paper and beat the Washington football team, who are better than the Bengals, right? The Washington football team isn't bad. They're definitely a step above the Bengals. I know it's so hard to justify that because the Cincinnati Bengals had the first pick, Washington football team had the second pick. The Washington front four is really good, and a lot of us are very familiar with it up here in Cleveland because of Chase Young, right, and his time at Ohio State, and what a stellar run that was out of a fantastic player. He's the same dude in the NFL. He's going to be causing pressures. He's going to keep Jedrick Wills' hands full. And Jedrick Wills said today when he met with the media, that dude's a beast. Like, he's going to have my hands full. So Jedrick Wills knows that he's up for a task. But can I shout out Bill Callahan on this show today? You know, Wyatt Teller, who was our big concern heading into the season as fans, as media, as pundits, that could this guy be the right guard? You know, we upgraded every position. You got, rid of Chris Hubbard. And you got Jack Conklin at right tackle. Greg Robinson tried driving over the border with a bunch of marijuana, so he gets replaced by Jedrick Wills. You know, your left guard's Petonio. He's solid. Your center is J.C. Treader. He's solid, too. Your right guard was the only thing you were a little bit worried about. And today it comes out Wyatt Teller is the highest graded guard in the National Football League. And that just goes to show that coaching matters, and Bill Callahan is doing a fantastic job. So my keys to victory on Sunday against the Washington football team is the Browns need to be the same team that we saw against Cincinnati. Baker needs to get the ball out. They need to run with Chubb and Hunt, just like Bob Wylie was saying. You know, I want to see Chubb and Hunt carry it 25 times and then put the other one in. And just keep pounding that rock. Another key to victory, and we saw this against the Bengals, and it worked, was you got to get out early. Teams that are run happy, like the Browns, you have to get out early so you can stick with that game plan, so you can continue to ground and pound instead of having to air the ball out 60 times to try to play catch up. It's going to be a healthier defense, I really think, and it needs to play much better, right? That was definitely the low light against the Bengals. We let Joe Burrow look way too good. They move the ball at ease at times, and I know they bend. I said at the beginning, opening segment, they bend it and they didn't break. Myles Garrett had that awesome strip sack, and then Porter Gustin just cleaned up Joe Burrow. They played well at times, but you need to play a full 4 quarters of football if you're this Browns defense, and I think they're capable of doing that because they're getting better, they're getting healthier, and that's the important thing. This is such a random game for me on the schedule, and this is something too that I wanted to address, and I wanted to know if you guys feel the same way. Tweet the show at Pedone My Take, tweet me at Nick Pedone 12. Washington isn't good, but they're not bad, and the Browns are certainly better, and they should win. You just need to see growth. It's such a random game. It has no division implications. You know, the Washington football team, like, they're not going to really shock anybody, I don't think, this year. Nobody's really expecting that. They have a good head coach in Riverboat Ron Rivera, and, geez, we all hope that everything's good with him with the cancer situation, and he is scheduled to get another IV at halftime this week, I believe. But, man, this game just feels so weird, and it feels so icky almost. Like the Browns just need to go in there. They need to show maturity. They need to show growth. Fix the few mistakes that were made against the Cincinnati Bengals game. Defense plays better. Baker needs to be sharper at times. That big throw to Harrison Bryant that was intercepted by a country mile. Like dumb little stuff like that, dumb little mistakes like that, you need to erase now, and you need to tune up against the bad teams like Washington. So then that way you can turn around and you could flip things over and you can really start to improve and really start to be a threat to the good teams that are coming up here. Ken Zampese is Haskins' quarterback coach. So we heard Bob Wylie talk about it a little bit during that interview. Ken's going to have Haskins getting rid of that ball really quick. And that's something that makes me a little bit nervous as a Browns fan, is I hope Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon, if he plays, Porter Gustin, Adrian Claiborne, whoever's on that other side with Garrett, I hope they have an opportunity to get after Haskins, because their offensive line there in Washington is bad. I think they allow like a 35% pressure rate, which is not good. That should be a Myles Garrett field day. But if Ken Zampese is in Washington, what he was in Cleveland, we should expect to see Dwayne Haskins getting rid of that ball fairly relatively quickly. And he's going to stand in that pocket and let it fly. If we win this game, and I asked you at the top of the hour, tweet the show at Pedone My Take, are the Browns contenders or are they pretenders? If you win this game, it shows me that you can handle your business against the bad teams. And that gives me optimism that against teams that are about this same, at the same level as you, young teams on the rise, up and coming, should be making playoff pushes, looking into the wild card spot, shooting at that division in a year or two. That gives me optimism that you're going to be able to hang in there with teams like that and possibly even hang in there with teams that are way better than you. You win this game and you're looking at a tougher schedule ahead. You got the Dallas Cowboys, and their defense is abysmal, and they're the Cowboys, and they always, find a perfect way to go 8-8. But at the same time, they have Dak Prescott. They have Ezekiel Elliott. They have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. They have weapons on that offensive side of the ball that the Browns are going to have to look about. You got the Colts with, Phil Rivers. They're not bad. And you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are always good to be a thorn in your side. You win this game, you're feeling really good. Not only are you above 500 for the first time since 2014, but you're feeling a lot better about your locker room. You're feeling a lot better about the talent that surrounds this football team heading into those tougher matchups. And I think that's super important. And I think the schedule makers did the Browns the taddest of favors. And they usually don't. They definitely didn't, giving us the opener against Baltimore. But this 2-game stretch right here, the Cincinnati Bengals in their second game on a short week, that was tailor-made for the Browns. And it worked. It worked completely in the Browns' favor. And now the Washington football team with a second-year quarterback in Haskins, a new head coach. You see what I'm saying here? It's kind of aligned for a win. Quickly, I want to get into the Tribe because I think the Browns are going to win on Sunday. I think it's going to be a much better all-around game than what we saw on Thursday. And the game on Thursday was fun. It was a lot of running the ball. I think Baker's going to look a little bit sharper. And if you watch me on Big Play Reflog on Monday, I said the same exact thing. He still seemed like he had happy feet at times. I think this could be the Baker Air Player of the Week. Remember when we were big, in voting in those on Twitter during the 2018 run? I think we could see a game this week where Baker finds the end zone through the air a couple more times than what we saw on Thursday night. I'm looking at 3 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield in a Browns win on Sunday at home against the Washington football team. Should be a lot of fun. Again, if you want to place a bet on that, Browns are favored at this current moment. They're going to be favored all week, going into Sunday. Time is now. MyBookie.ag, promo code Pedone, double that first deposit. Another team that you should be betting on right now is the Cleveland Indians. Again, how a week changes everything. Last week I was in here whining and crying about an 8-game, losing streak. Now, the Tribe, you don't want to get into their playoff opponents because that's so murky. And if this team wins, it's this team. And if the Tribe handles their business, it's this team and this and that and this and that. Let's put it this way. I like the Cleveland Indians odds in a best of 3 wild card type deal play-in into a bubble playoffs that the MLB is going to be experimenting with the first time ever, just like the NBA is, with Shane Bieber as your ace, Zach Plesac in the second game, and if you need a third game, Cookie Carrasco. I like the Indians' odds in pitching. That's the reason why they did this and doubled down on the pitching. But now you have to prove it. Now you have to get out of the round of 3 and move on into the round of 5 and the round of 7. Because once you make the postseason in baseball, the saying that come out a million times, before October 4th or 5th when the Tribe is going to play their first postseason game is, well, now that they're in the playoffs, anything can happen. That's the saying that's always gets tossed around by baseball fans. Anything can happen. Okay, well, prove it to me. For 1 year, just prove to me that not getting a big-time hitter at the deadline, that trading away Mike Clevenger and doubling down on your young pitching rotation of Zach Plesac, of guys like Tristan McKenzie, Aaron Savali, and putting your trust in them. Now, if you're the Cleveland Indians, you have to show me as a fan that this is going to work, that truly anything can happen, right? Because last year we didn't make the postseason. Postseason before that, I saw a team that just got there and then completely crumbled, completely folded, especially after that 22-game win streak. Obviously, the World Series in 2016 was an example of it. It was in October to remember. Jose Ramirez, gotta shout him out. I hope he wins the MVP this year. When you talk about the most valuable player on a team in sports, we have this conversation when we're speaking of LeBron all the time. The word MVP, those 3 letters, they stand for most valuable player. So if you take Shane Bieber or you take Jose Ramirez off of the Indians, are they a playoff team? Is Francisco Lindor even on this team? Or do you just sell him at the deadline? Because at that point, you would have been so far out of contention, you would not have been in first place without Shane Bieber, without Jose Ramirez. These guys are the most valuable players in the league because they've almost single-handedly propelled this team to a postseason berth. And I'm super excited to watch the Tribe in the postseason. MLB playoffs last year felt empty because I felt like the Tribe deserved to be in there. They didn't have, big injuries that got them down, like in years past. It was just a disappointing season. The Minnesota Twins were better than us, and it sucked because we had just been there for 3 straight years. It should have been 4. We should have won the division, made a crack at the World Series, and the Twins took it away from us. So I'm so happy that the Tribe are back in there. Let's get into it because it's time of the play of the week presented by BigPlay.com. Big Play is your _1 source for live interactive sports talk almost every night of the week. Give them a follow is the best way to watch shows like this one at BigPlay_com on Twitter, on Instagram. Stay in the loop with everything going on in Cleveland sports and national headlines like we're about to get into now. Let's get into it. The play of the week presented by BigPlay.com. Okay, so how this works, we're going to talk about someone in the world of sports, pop culture that missed the mark, that hit the mark, and somebody that fell somewhere in the middle. So my small play of the week, let's kick this thing off. Small play of the week is doctors. If you're a doctor, and we're lucky that we live here in Cleveland and we have some of the best medical professionals in the world that work at the Cleveland Clinic, and the caregivers out, in all the branches, especially, downtown at the main campus and everything like that. We're blessed here with doctors. But if you're rolling into your job tomorrow and you're a fan of the NFL and you're maybe lead doctor or however that works, the doctor's boss is like a big NFL fan, they're kind of looking at you like, man, or like maybe a hospital manager, they're looking at you like, you're on the hot seat, dude. So LA Chargers team doctor accidentally punctures Tyrod Taylor's lung while trying to inject painkillers into his cracked rib so he could play on Sunday. This happens before the game. Obviously, he punctured the dude's lung, so Tyrod Taylor wasn't able to play. Justin Herbert finds out a minute or 2 before the game that this had happened and that he's going to be the Charger starting quarterback on Sunday. I have a gripe with doctors, and I know I just gave them credit, but it's so aggravating to me that a doctor could go 8, 10, how many ever years it is in school, and then still do things like this. And accidents happen. Don't get me wrong. Whatever occupation that you're in, accidents are going to happen. If you're a car mechanic, there's going to be a time where you put the screw on the wrong part of the motor and it's going to, you're going to poop down your leg and it's going to screw the whole car. Same thing happens probably when you're being a doctor. We saw it on Sunday with Tyrod Taylor's lung. My issue with this is, as much as accidents happen, when you're a doctor, you're held to that higher standard. So while accidents happen, medical malpractice lawsuits and settlements should also be allowed to happen. And the NFL has it written in their collective bargaining agreement that all the players had to sign. And we remember all the drama and controversy that went with that if you're accepting team care, which is, obviously free care that the team provides to a player, you can't sue. You can't sue the doctor. You can't get anything, reap the benefits of malpractice. So if I'm Tyrod Taylor, I'm like, man, I was supposed to be a starting quarterback. I'm going to be missing out on, potential next contracts, more games to put on tape, more throws to put on tape. I'm missing out on endorsement opportunities if I break out and play well. That aggravates the hell out of me that he can't, I hate to say sue this doctor, that doctor screwed him. That's not the case. I believe it was an honest mistake. I certainly hope that it was, at least. But it's just crummy to me that Tyrod Taylor, because it was free care provided by the team, he can't reap any of the benefits. And I would try maybe I can't get anything from this injury. Like, I can't say, oh, you punctured, my lung, give me a couple $100,000. But what about if he like twisted it in such a way and saying, oh, you lost me an opportunity to put, games on my tape, on my huddle, on my, resume, and that's going to hurt my opportunity to sign with another team or to re-sign with the LA Chargers when this contract is up. I wonder if he can kind of construe it that way. This is twice in Tyrod Taylor's career that he's been kind of sabotaged. So if you remember Thursday Night Football against the Jets, which we talked about with Bob Wylie, Tyrod Taylor, he was a mess that game. Every time he went down, and when he goes down, he's like a bad faller. Like, some people, when they fall, especially athletes, they fall gracefully. Kyler Murray, he's a small guy. Whenever he gets sacked or he gets hit or he falls, it doesn't look like he's going to snap in half. Russell Wilson, again, a really good faller. You look at a guy like Blake Bortles, a really bad faller. Nick Foles, a really bad faller. Guys that when they get hit, it looks like their head is going to fall off of their shoulders. Tyrod Taylor is a bad faller. So on that Thursday Night Football game, when he was flopping all over the field because the Browns' offensive line at that point was not that good, he was holding every part of his body. He was holding his wrist at one point. He was holding his knee at another point. And I just feel as if they were looking for any excuse on that Thursday Night Football game to turn those 0-2 Browns around and to get Baker Mayfield, the number 1 overall pick, into that game. And I feel almost as if just bad for Tyrod Taylor, because this is the second time that this has happened on a punctured lung in a freak accident by the team doctor, and now he can't play and he can't be the starter there. I do understand, however, why their coach, Anthony Lynn, is pushing for Tyrod Taylor to be the starter, because this is such an ugly look for the LA Chargers as an organization. Like, your team doctor punctures the starting quarterback's lung, and then he gets replaced by the rookie quarterback who played well and looked good and almost beat the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And now Tyrod Taylor, like, sorry, dude, we spent a first-round draft pick on this guy. Like, he played well. We got to play him. But all that wouldn't have happened if his lung wasn't punctured. So I feel so bad for Tyrod Taylor, who's a stand-up guy on all accounts, and people have nothing but good things to say about Tyrod Taylor. I just feel like his career, and his last 2 teams have been, in a sense, sabotaged, and it's kind of sad and crazy. So let's get into the medium play of the week. Is the NFL mask enforcing task force is what I've decided to call it. If you've missed it, the NFL fined several coaches this week over not wearing a mask on the sideline of the field. At first, I was like, this is cool. And I liked when the NBA coaches inside the bubble were wearing their masks as well, because I think it sends a bigger message to like us idiot fans at home. Like, hey, look, these coaches who are, really cool and they're really important people are wearing their masks. So you should too. But then I really sat down and thought about it, and I'm like, okay, wait. I don't know about the vast majority of people, but I'm not that stupid. They're getting coronavirus tests every day. So, like, when they walk into that stadium, they're getting a coronavirus test. Like, they know that they're negative, and if they're positive, they have to spin it around and get the hell out of there. So, at first, I thought it was a good mood for the NFL to set an example like this, but now I'm like, really? Like on that message, but we're going to take $100,000 a pop away from these coaches for pretty much a uniform violation at this point. It's not a health and safety thing, in the NFL, in the NBA, when they're getting tested every day, when they're pretty much not allowed to leave their apartments, their team hotels, because of the protocols put in place by their specific teams. Like, it's important that we wear our masks, but I watch an offensive line and a defensive line for 4 quarters of a full-length NFL football game with no masks on, just helmets with the little metal bars that go in front of their mouths, crash into each other like test, dummies for hours on end. And they're fine, and they're, up close and personal. I feel like the coaches should be wearing their masks. It's important. It sends the message. But if they don't, come on, could we send a warning? And I know they did, and they said you have to wear them. It's imperative. They're going to crack down on it. But man, $100,000. That's a lot of money to find someone. And I like that Kevin Stefanski joked about how much money that actually is today when he met with the media in Berea. He said, $100,000. He's like, this thing isn't coming off my face. And obviously that got a big laugh because that's a lot of money. I don't know how to feel about it because at one hand of the equation is like, okay, it's a good thing. They're setting an example. And then on the other hand, it's like they're setting an example, but it's kind of ridiculous because they're getting tests all day, every day, and they know that they don't have it. So it's just kind of different. Big play of the week. Let's get into it. Rajay Davis. And I know what you're thinking. Rajay Davis, he's not even on the Indians. Well, first, got to give a huge shout out to him. Had an outstanding interview on the Big Play Network. Obviously, what we're a part of. I told a really cool story about 2016 World Series. During the rain delay, they head down into the clubhouse. He's looking around. They're starting to hang the plastic over the lockers, getting ready for the champagne celebration after he hit the home run. And he was like, now's not the time for that. Like, now's not the time. So first, big play to him because that was a cool story. Second, last night, Jose takes Rajay Davis's bat. What Rajay Davis's old bat is still doing at Progressive Field, I have no idea. It's cool that they keep it around. But Jose Ramirez takes it and uses the bat with Rajay Davis's name etched onto it to hit that 3-run walk-off, shot, home run in extra innings to send the Cleveland Indians to the playoffs. I don't know what it is about Rajay Davis, but whenever his name is mentioned, something cool happens. The guy is just cool. He's magic. Wizard of Cleveland Indians baseball. So Rajay Davis, you're my big play of the week because if it wasn't for you, who knows if Jose Ramirez, that ball might not leave the yard, So Rajay Davis, you're the big play of the week. And Jose Ramirez, you're going to be the AL MVP, my friend. We need to will that into existence as well. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. What a fun hour. Huge thanks to former Browns assistant Bob Wylie. Man, it sure seemed as if he carried this show today. He brought it all the way. Fantastic stuff out of him. If you missed it and you're just tuning in now, make sure you go out of your way and subscribe to Pedone My Take on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You won't regret listening to Bob Wylie. Super insightful stories and fun stuff from him. Even bigger thanks to MyBookie. Register today. Use promo code Pedone. They're going to double your first deposit. Go bet on the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. They're going to be 2-1 for the first time since 2014. That gives you enough of a reason to use mybookie.ag. Use promo code Pedone. They're going to match whatever you put into your account and double that first deposit for you. Go play some parlays, go play some squares, and have some fun this Sunday. Bet on the NFL. Have a blast with MyBookie promo code Pedone. Next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be doing this all again right here on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on BigPlay.com, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to all of that stuff. And as my good friend Pat Shermer used to say, we'll see you Wednesday.